Hello. In the first video I said the Binladens were evil bastards, and I explained the hierarchy of war. Okay. In this one I'm going to show the not so much the moral side, which I did in the first vid, but I'm going to show the economics of war and why war has principally been, and may even in this time, probably most certainly in this time, is a form of financial cannibalism. And why do I say financial cannibalism? Because although the process of, not directly of course, unless you of course live in South Africa, where actually literally real cannibalism, and in Central Africa real cannibalism is actually happening on a systematic scale, if you've read up about in my other videos about the Muti killings. But not to get off the subject, in a similar way, the financial system, the war machine system, the war as a racket system, which has been going since there were organised armies hooked up with organised crime and organised business, and that's been at least since the Greeks and the Romans. Okay. And there's been the constant struggle between those people who represent feudalism, or a kind of idea that against feudalism, that there needs to be some kind of evil for the greater good to come about. Of course, that can sometimes be true. If we had just simply gone and nutted off all the leaders in who were for the Second World War, starting with Hitler, Stalin, and a few of the other ones, even maybe the democratically elected ones, maybe there wouldn't have been a war, and maybe 50 odd million people wouldn't have had to die. But apart from that, let's get down to the economics of the situation here. Alright? The Bin Ladens use terror, and so do the Saudis, of course, to use terror to get their way in the world, to bully banks and other things, and into doing their bidding, of course, because why would any bank, even if they absolutely believed in a completely globalized or imperial system, or whatever kind of immorality you as a viewer believe is the most worst thing ever, whether it be fascism or communism, why would they deal with it, people like the Bin Ladens, who massacre whole ethnicities, basically some of the most terrible crimes of their crimes are just coming about to our knowledge. But how do they work in the actual international system? Well, an economics video, which the user was talking about the hedging of the dollar against gold, and of course many people have gone into buying gold as a hedge against inflation, because inflation is reducing the quantity of the dollar, the actual value of the dollar, as the quantity of dollars through the Federal Reserve system is increasing all the time. Okay, now you would say, oh right, oh so the soldiers are in debt, and they go away and fight, and the banks repossess their houses, and that is directly financial cannibalism. Well, in a way it is. So the banks could be said to be profiting from war. They certainly fund enough drug cartels, other kinds of lower grade terrorists than the Bin Ladens. I'm not saying I'm like a connoisseur of the different kinds of terrorism. I obviously am talking against terrorism in every sense. But there are clearly differences in power between terrorist groups. The Bin Ladens might be doing terrorism for many different reasons, and a lot of people who are recruited into it believe they're doing it for Islam, but really they're doing it for egotistical reasons, because at heart they're a feudalist family, and they've got a beef with the Saudi Arabians, but sometimes Saudi royal family, but sometimes they cooperate with the Saudi royal family, and sometimes they're even cooperating with with the Western banking system, or forcing the Western banking system to do their bidding, because the Western banking system value people in it. They value their lives as well, and perhaps one of the few countries that they could follow would be Lebanon, because they've actually managed to protect their people by some method from the similar kinds of actions from Hezbollah, the Christian Faith, the Israeli Secret Service, and all manner of other nasty people crawling around in Lebanon during the war, and yet they've protected their banking system. Okay, so we could perhaps follow that example. Now, the other point to make is the reason why there was a flow towards the dollar in this particular instance, not in every instance, unless the price of gold actually fell against all rationale, was because of people's rational expectations. People expected the gold to go up, but other people betted against the market. Now, all of this sounds very logical and very economical, but of course the egotistical part of all of this is because the oil tap, right, the fundamental oil tap, which affects the petro-dollar system, is controlled by people like the Binladens, like the Saudi royal family, like the people who run Dubai and ran Dubai World into the ground, and then said to the creditors, no, you better not actually ask for your money back, or something bad might happen, and other such things. The problem is this whole irrationality of the Middle East. People are so downtrodden now. I mean, you can't even talk about the Saudi royal family on Fox News, because they are, of course, partly owned by Saudis themselves. And if you try to talk about the Saudi royal family in Saudi Arabia, you're likely to get your head chopped off in the middle of the street, which happens quite often, right? Now, on the other side, there is the people in between. People who were caught, not even caught, blatantly saying it on Bloomberg, that they were creating a financial instrument which was a put option on companies whose assets were not yet diminished so much by inflation that they were going to go into bankruptcy, but they were hedging it on the actual price they would get from asset stripping the company, right? So it was a put on inflation in a sense, okay? And this was something that everybody was raving about on Bloomberg. So in the middle, you've got all these business people who are not particularly ethical, and they are the sort of parasitical people who are the war profiteers, okay? So they're very much in the middle, and there's the whole murky area of politics, business, and arms, and all the rest of it. But those people are more sort of half evil in the sense that they're cynical, or they're very, very motivated by self-interest, rather than the people like the Binladens are just doing evil because they want to do evil. Okay. People in Al-Qaeda might be motivated by some, or the Taliban might be motivated by some religious belief that they believe that to be morally right, and they want to subject everybody else to their laws. Much like the militaristic, chauvinistic Zionist people are absolutely deplored by humanistic, social democratic Jewish organisations, like who are in contact with peace organisations for the Middle East. There's a whole range of opinions, even within Islam, of course, and so, as I showed in Hierarchy of War, you know, you could say trouble rolls downhill, you know, but also evil bastards seem to float to the top, don't they? And diamonds are in the rough sink into the river. But when they're all done, who really is going to be wanting them? It's actually the productive, moral citizens who are wanted, and that's why I reckon democracy will win in the end.